My objective in these recordings is basically to share with you how you can get more of the things that money will buy and all of the things that money won't buy. Money is important. There are some people, who literally are struggling for survival. Part of our objective is to help those people, and all of us, at least in one or two instances in our life, have been in that situation where if we had a flat tire, it was a financial disaster. If we spilled something on a dress or tore a suit or something, it really represented difficulty. We would run out of gas on the highway. These people are struggling for survival. We want to share with you as we go along how to move from survival to stability. And then how do you move from stability to success? And then how do you move from success to significance? Money is important. Now don't misunderstand, it's not everything, but it rates reasonably close to oxygen. It's got to be in the picture. Now, anybody that says they're not interested in money going to lie about other things too. A lot of people just don't have any concepts about money. They talk about cold, hard cash, which is silly. It's neither cold nor hard. It's soft and warm. It feels good. Feel it. That's long enough. All right, now, the nice thing about money is it's so beautifully colored. Listen, ladies, this will go with anything you've got. You don't have to worry about color coordination. Yeah? I got to confess, I like the things that money buys. I like to wear nice clothes. I like to drive a nice car. I like to live in a nice house. I like to take nice trips. I like to take my wife out to nice restaurants I like all of those things, and all of them cost money. But I love the things money won't buy. See, money bought me a nice house. It'll never buy me a home. Money will buy me a bed, won't buy me a good night's sleep. Money will buy me a companion, won't buy me a friend. Money will buy me a good time, but it won't buy peace of mind. All of those things are available. Now, I'll never tell you it's easy, but they are available. I want to share with you in this series, how do you achieve employment security in a world where job security no longer exists? And I think everybody would recognize that. And we're going to look at that very carefully. How do you live well? And how do you finish well? I think it's very important we understand that. How do you develop the qualities that are necessary to accomplish all of these things? And do I have what it takes? I'm going to be giving you an awful lot of stories, examples, and illustrations. The Center for Creative Research out of Greensboro, North Carolina, said that the parable, the story, the example, is the best way to teach, particularly if you are teaching values. Seems that a couple of thousand years ago, somebody else used the parable quite effectively in teaching the truths that really do make a difference. When I think of the thought that might go through your mind as you sit there in your car maybe listening to this, wondering, Zig has said some pretty significant things there about, what is available. I wonder, poor little me, plum disease in full force. Can I accomplish those things? Well, let me tell you about Vince, Robert, and you kind of think along with me and see how you compare to Vince. He's 37 years old. Now, how old are you? Had a 5th grade education. How much education do you have? He drove a taxi. What do you do? Now, the question is, where do you think Vince Robert was going to end up in the minds of a lot of people? I know many would say, well, there's a perfect candidate for governmental assistance before he passes on. But one day when Vince was waiting on a fare at the airport or downtown in front of a hotel, lightning struck. I don't know what happened. But he bought a book. It was a dictionary, a 15-pound Webster's dictionary. How many of you know why Webster wrote the dictionary? His wife kept asking him, now what does that mean? Well, anyhow, I'm sure glad y'all are in such a good frame of mind. Laughter is good for you. And gets those endorphins and the dopamine and norepinephrine hopping around in there, And interestingly enough, it also is economical to laugh. There's new scientific evidence that's been validated in the American Medical Association Journal, which proves beyond any doubt that if you have a tendency to laugh and refrain from doing it, the laughter reverses itself, comes back inside and spreads your hips. So we, so we encourage you, go ahead and really laugh and enjoy yourself, because as you well know, obesity is widespread. Now, Vince Robert put that dictionary on the front seat of his automobile. And starting on word 1, page 1, he started learning those words. By the time he had barely gotten into the dictionary, maybe an eighth of an inch thick, all of a sudden he starts understanding things he's only been hearing, understanding things he's only been reading. Now, this is validated by Georgetown Medical School, which said in their studies that in 100% of the cases, no exception, that when your vocabulary increases, your IQ goes up. Every single case. You can build a magnificent vocabulary and not invest any time at all. None. All you got to do is get your dictionary, put it in the bathroom. Now, when you analyze what I just said, it really will take you no time at all. That IQ goes up. Now, let me tell you what happened to Vince Robert. As he started hearing things and listening to things, he started understanding them. He started investing in the stock market, took every dime he could spare. He ended up buying the 19-car cab company. He kept investing. Today he's a wealthy man, travels Canada, telling people how he did it. You know what I believe with all my heart? There'll be tens of thousands of Vince Robertses who will listen to what I just said and say, if that guy can do it, I can do it too. That's what this is all about. I want to share with you a basic concept which you will hear me repeat over and over, namely that failure is an event. It's not a person. Yesterday really did end last night. Today really is a brand new day. And it gives us another choice today to do with it whatever it is that we wish to do. One of the things that I'm going to be covering in this series is how do you get along with other people? How do you get along with that bloodsucker of a boss who wants to squeeze every ounce of blood out of you and only pays you minimum wage because it's the law? How do you get along with that lazy, irresponsible employee who wants all the benefits and do none of the work, who thinks they ought to show up when they want to, where they want to, how they want to, and do what they want to? How do you get along with that person? How do you get along with that man I'm married to that no human being alive could ever tolerate? How do you get along with that woman? I don't know how anybody can. How do you handle that irresponsible, lazy teenager? How do you get along with all of these people? Well, we're going to look at how you do all of those things. How many of you would agree in this live audience that that's going to be extremely valuable information to you? Because you know some people like I have just described, okay? Let me tell you, how do you handle a job you hate? Now, I know you love your job as you listen to this, but there are a lot of people who have jobs that they're just not very excited about. They kind of hate them. I was going through the airport out at DFW, through the security bit, and this young man was there, and I always said, "Thank you very much. How you doing?" He said, "Just awful. I hate this job." And I smiled at him and I said, "Well, that's interesting. I'm certain that there are literally thousands of people in Dallas, Texas alone who would love to have this job that you absolutely hate." The young man did a quick double take and he said, "I never thought about that." I said, "Well, don't you really think you ought to think about it just for a moment? How do you learn to love a job that you hate? And if you can't learn to love it, how do you get to be productive?" Let me tell you a story. It's about a guy named Richard Oates. Now, Richard Oates was a superintendent with one of the nation's largest home builders. For 5 years, he worked with them. Last 3 years, he was under such intense pressure that he told me less than a week ago, he said, "I hated Sundays." And I said, "Well, why on earth did you hate Sundays?" He said, "Because Sunday was the last day before I would have to get back in the rat race." And he said, "I was under so much pressure, I was stressed out to an incredible degree." Well, let me tell you the rest of that story. In the 5 years he was there, he only missed 4 days because of illness. In the last 3 years he was there, he was never late a single time, regardless of the weather, regardless of how he felt, regardless of what the car trouble was. He always did not use the complete vacation time. The last year he was there, he was recognized as one of their top superintendents, would undoubtedly have gotten the award as being the best, but he had in the meantime accepted a better position, and they just generally don't give those awards to people when they have left the company they're with. Perhaps the most amazing thing, though, is that the thing that was so amazing to me, although he had 400 home units that he was in charge of, 15 to 20 homes going up at all times, in the last 10 months he built and closed 83 homes without missing a single move-in date. Now, that is absolutely unbelievable. I asked him, I said, well, how'd you do it? He said, well, first of all, there's a question of survival. I do have responsibilities. I just love to eat. I have responsibility to my wife. I have other responsibilities. I had a responsibility to my company. I'm known as a company man. My responsibility was to give them the very best that I had, regardless of how I might be feeling at the moment. Now, folks, that's what we call character. Character is the ability to carry out a good resolution long after the excitement of the moment has passed. That is accepting responsibility. He said not only that, but he said, I had a mentor, Stan Sermonak, who had really taken me under his wing, had made it possible for me to get this particular job, had been my mentor and encourager. I did not want to let him down. Now, what is all of that saying, folks? There are some absolutes in life. We talk about relative this and relative that. Relative as far as I'm concerned are brothers and sisters and in-laws and that sort of thing. But there are values that are not relative. For example, suppose we were to take the laws and say, well, we got about 2,000 on the book. I believe in, let's see, this one, that. But I don't like that one at all. I'm going to take that one out of there. We would be in chaos, would we not? It would be anarchy. Now, the thing I guess I like best of all about Richard Oates, and I recognize that this is going to sound a little self-serving, he just happens to have married one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen in my life, my daughter. Now, that means very simply that he's my son-in-law, but the story is that today he's our vice president in charge of marketing and product development, applying the same energy, the same commitment. You see, he took a job he did not like, gave it his absolute best, learned the skills, the commitment, the responsibility to move into a better job. Don't like your job? Give it your best shot. That's the way you get the better job. Let me give you the second illustration. Several years ago, my executive assistant, Laurie Majors, received a telephone call from a lady in Birmingham, Alabama. Now, Laurie is quite a story. She's been with me 18 years. She finished the 10th grade. 2 years ago, we evaluated our key employees. Laurie graded out at slightly above the master's degree level. Let me tell you something. You can finish school. You can even make it easy. You never finish your education, and it is seldom easy. She simply keeps on learning, keeps on growing. And you, by virtue of the fact that you have invested in this set of tapes, taken your money, now taken your time, means that you're investing in yourself, in your future, and I commend you for that.